So the Bills traded away Stefon Diggs for they got a 2025 second-round pick in return. They also take a $31 million cap hit, which is the sixth largest in NFL history, and it's the highest for any non-quarterback. The cap hit is for this next season. Diggs signed a reconstructed contract for about $22.5 million. But according to the Athletic's Tim Graham, it seems like the Bills really were fed up with, Stefon Diggs' outrages at Josh Allen, directly at Josh Allen, in games, and then his brother Trayvon Diggs on social media said that you got to get him out of there, and called out Josh Allen for being nothing before Stefon Diggs got there. However, Stefon Diggs, when he did get traded, did post a very nice leaving letter on Instagram, and I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's going to take years to read, but you can read it if you'd like. So he was being very humble about it, taking no shots, thanking Bills Mafia, thanking the organization. A very, very kind message as he moves on to the Houston Texans. I want to know, I said this a year ago, and this was a topic I did on part of the show I did called the Harvey Hour Fired Up, and people disagree with me. But right now, is the Super Bowl window shut after the Bills traded away Stefon Diggs?
No.
Ooh.
I don't think it's shut, okay? I think it might have been closed to be not quite as wide a crack as it was before. But, we haven't seen the Bills get very deep in the play. Well, they get to the divisional round, and then they fall apart now. And you look at what they've done the last 4 years with Stefon Diggs. They won 11 games each year. 4 straight years they went to the divisional round. But they've lost a lot of players. They lost Stefon Diggs now. Leonard Floyd, Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, Tadarius White, Mitch Morse, Gabe Davis is gone, and Tim Settle. So it's going to be a big turnover there in terms of players. But they have one thing going for them, Josh Allen. Right? Josh Allen is still there. Josh Allen has some great stats the last 4 years. He has the most combined passing and rushing yards, rushing TDs for the past 4 seasons, 173. He has 17,540 passing yards. He's 63-30 in the time with Buffalo. So, and he's a top 5 quarterback. So you can build around him for sure. He's still young. I think maybe the Bills are looking a little beyond 2024 when they did this trade. They have this cap space issue with dead cap space for Diggs. But I think with the Chiefs and the Bills being the only 2 teams to win 11 games and reach the divisional round 4 straight years, the problem is the Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls and the Bills didn't win any. So their problem is not so much getting to the playoffs; it's getting to the big dance, and they haven't been able to do it. Their last title was in 1965, so it's been a while. I mean, they haven't been to the Super Bowl since 1993, so it's been a while. So they're figuring we got to do something different here, and we got the rabble rouser out of here, the guy who was making noise and unsettling our team. We've still got some options with. We got a 2nd-round pick, right? We've got the 28th overall first-round pick and the 60th pick. So, we can pick up some players here. And, by the way, Brandon Ayuk is out there, and so is T. Higgins. So maybe they make a deal to get one of those guys. So I don't see them being out of Super Bowl contention as long as they have Josh Allen, as long as they can, rebuild their defense a little bit, which I think needed a little bit of work. They shook it up a little bit. They still have Cook at their running back. He had a very good year last year. So they still have some pieces, and they have Josh Allen. So I don't think you can count them out totally.
I said it a year ago, and I'll repeat it again. The Super Bowl window is shut, closed, locked. The Bills will never win a Super Bowl under the Josh Allen era. I back then, a year ago, I think it was July a year ago, I said at the time that I think that Josh Allen is under the most pressure because the amount of talent he had, the farthest that they got, the fact that, it's about time they win it, and they didn't. They lost in humiliating fashion with a missed field goal, and then the Chiefs they did what the Chiefs usually do with Patrick Mahomes. There's a little bit of a shocking revelation outside of Diggs. I'm going to show the stats right now. Josh Allen is a completely different quarterback without Diggs in his entire career. These are the numbers. 48-18 record compared to 15-13. So it's still over 500, but the separation is massive. Completion percentage is 9 percentage points difference, 65 to 56. Passing yards per game is about 80 difference, 265 to 184. Touchdowns to interceptions, it's a 137 and 57 with, and 30 and 21 without. That is that's a pretty massive gap. In the ratio, it's about a one more touchdown to interception ratio. It's 2.4 to 1.4. Then the passer rating is also a massive gap, 96.9 compared to 78.2. Josh Allen is an entirely different quarterback without Stefon Diggs, and he's not a good quarterback without Stefon Diggs. The farthest they got pre-Stefon Diggs was losing in the wild card, and it wasn't even that good of a wild card game. I think that was the game where Josh Allen tried to, lateral it, and it was the ugliest lateral I've ever seen, and just a dumb decision all around. And add on top of that, you have Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, which is not a bad wide receiver too, and Mac Hollins. Those are your three wide receivers. You do have two good tight ends, Dawson Knox and Dalton Kincaid, perfectly capable tight ends, but overall, the Buffalo Bills, I think, are screwed. And I said they're under, and that was when they had Stefon Diggs still. They had a 10.5 win total. I said, don't be surprised if they go 10-7, or shock the world to go 9-8. I think that's more likely now today, obviously. Now, they could go draft several receivers, which I'm sure they might do. They have a late round pick. I believe they have the 28th pick in the draft. I want to fact check that. They have the 28th pick. And I think now the fact that they got rid of Diggs, look at A.D. Mitchell from Texas. That he might go there. Xavier Worthy, they might pick up. There's a couple receivers late in the first round, which could be perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. But will they replace what Stefon Diggs was and the chemistry, even though I think towards the very end it became sort of toxic? Can one of those rookie receivers simulate the chemistry that, Allen and Diggs had? Probably not, because that takes 4 years to do, or that at least takes a year to do. So I don't think in any sort of realm of possibility we're going to be talking about the Buffalo Bills in February saying in Super Bowl 59 in Louisiana, I believe it is in New Orleans, that they're going to be competing for a Super Bowl title against, most likely, if we had to pick, the 49ers. That's probably the team. They might go back there, but we're not talking about the Bills team going back to the Super Bowl. In my mind, that just can't happen.
Okay, well, you've got some interesting stats there, Nate, but let me point out a few others,
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
So after Dorsey was fired,
yep,
right? They went away from Diggs more. Did not have the last 7 games. He had 34 catches, 315 yards, and 1 TD after Dorsey was fired. Right.
Okay.
The final 7 games, the Bills went 6-1. Right. So how did that happen? They kind of went away from Diggs.
I'll tell you exactly.
And they had a lot of success. They had a lot of success.
Yep.
They were winning when limiting Diggs.
Right.
And Allen was still very productive. Right.
Sure.
He still has. They still have Curtis Samuel and Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid and James Cook. They still got some players on offense.
I'm not denying that.
And I think they set themselves up well for the next couple of years. They get off the contract of Diggs, which had 4 more years to go on it. So they after this year, when the cap space lightens up a little bit, they have some picks in next year. So I think they'll be a contender this year. Will they win the Super Bowl? Maybe not. Well, will they get deep in the playoffs? Probably get to the divisional round. They seem to be able to do that, but they had to shake things up. They had to do something different, right? Because they weren't getting there. Look at what the Chiefs did with 11 wins and 4 straight years going to the divisional round. Sure. They got 2 Super Bowl wins.
Correct.
The Bills got none. So they had to do something different. Maybe it's the coaching.
Could be the coaching.
Could be the coaching. You look at what the Chiefs did to the Bills there in that game where there's just a fraction of a second left and
13 seconds.
13 seconds left.
And I think they had 2 or 3 timeouts.
And
they guarded the sideline, middle of the field.
Yeah, and the coaching was abysmal. The last 13 seconds, as Bill Belichick says, it's a 60-minute game. You got to play every second of it. You got to be coaching out there every second.
Yeah.
The Bills weren't in that game. And McDermott They've got to believe they were thinking about whether they should hang on to him at the end of this season with what happened. So some of it could be the coaching. But I think that his stats are interesting there, but they're over a long period of time. I think if you look at what happened just recently in the last season and how Josh Allen and the Bills played when Diggs was limited, they don't feel like they lose that much by getting rid of him.
I'll tell you why. Because they never. Are you including the playoffs in those last 7 games? Or are you saying the last 7 games of the regular season?
7 games of the regular season.
Okay, yeah, I'll tell you exactly why. They ran the ball incredibly well. They didn't have less than 100 rushing yards in each of those games.
Well, maybe that's a better formula for them.
And they had sub 100 rushing yards in 4 of those first 10 or so games before they fired Ken Dorsey. So they ran the ball much better. James Cook and everybody else had a tremendous rushing attack, including Josh Allen. But the the massive question, we see this even with Lamar Jackson, is in the playoffs, it's all up to him. It's all up to the quarterback. Josh Allen is making these big-time plays, and we saw some stupid plays, really some stupid plays throughout the season, rolling to his right, trying to throw it into the end zone, and he would Gabe Davis wide open on the left side of the field. He threw it right. Gabe Davis went left. Lack of communication there. He's gone as well. The Bills have suffered massive losses, and you pointed it out. Like, these are some big-time losses. Defensively, you're losing some of your top guys. Offensively, your first 2 receivers, gone. A very, very good center, Mitch Morse, gone. Like, this offense is really depleted. And on top of that, you are building this team to get far. This team was supposed to be built to beat the Chiefs, beat the Bengals, beat whoever you meet in the playoffs. And on top of that, with Josh Allen, you were supposed to be out going for championships and Super Bowls. You could barely make it past the wild card. So they had a great end of the season run. Yes, I think Joe Brady did a perfectly fine job executing a new style offense, a new vision of offense, and getting themselves the number 1 spot in the AFC East after the Miami Dolphins seemed to have that pretty much on lock. And lo and behold, you're able to pull it out. But this season's going to be different. I think the Bills are taking a massive step back. I think the Jets have a serious shot at winning the AFC East. The Dolphins, I think, are going to remain at that 2 spot. The Patriots, like I said, they're going 6-11. I don't expect much from them, even with the rookie quarterback, even if they trade back or draft the best player in the draft with the number 3, or if they trade with the Vikings 11-23. But I seriously think the Bills are going to take a not massive regression. They're going to regress to a point where there's a serious question whether or not they're even going to make the playoffs. And then if they do make the playoffs, and let's say they go 10-7 or 9-8, we're going to be debating whether or not they're going to make it past the wild card, like they did pre-Diggs. The year before they got Diggs, they lost in the wild card. We're going to be at that level.
Yeah, I agree with you on.
My main thing about that is that Josh Allen's going to go back to playing Superman.
And he's been doing that.
That's where he makes his mistakes. Is when he tries to be Superman.
There's a point I was going to make. He has some great stats. He's a number 5 quarterback. He's been in the talk for the MVP, but he makes mistakes that he shouldn't make, and he gets too hyped up in the games.
Yeah.
He gets all wound up, and he fumbles or he throws an interception, and it makes him worse. He can't put it behind him. He goes out there and tries even harder.
He tries to make up for that mistake.
He tries to do too much, and then he pulls the ball down and runs, and he takes some big hits. One of these days, he's going to get hurt. So he's got that going against him. But I still think with him and some of the other pieces they still have, it's still going to be competitive. It's still going to be competitive, and maybe they don't get to the Super Bowl because they haven't been able to do it 4 years in a row now. While the Chiefs have won 2 out of the 3 there, getting 2 out of the 4. I think that I do think they'll still be competitive.
I'm going to state this once again. I said this last year. The Bills will not win a Super Bowl under the Josh Allen era. I said it last year, and so far I've been proven right.
Yeah.
And with this,
still got a long way to go. He's not even 30 years old yet.
And here's
he won't be 30 until he's 2026.
I know. No, I'm fully aware. But what people are saying, this is addition by subtraction. No, it isn't. Yeah, you got maybe a guy who's a little bit petty in the locker room, but the talent on the field speaks for itself. This is a guy who was getting a bunch of receptions and massive production and rightfully so, made Josh Allen a much better quarterback. Without him, we kind of know what Josh Allen looks like. He's not a good quarterback. Barely a 500, barely above 500. This season's going to be interesting, and maybe they get a rookie receiver and he has a Tank Dell season or whatever the case may be. But as it's currently constructed, the Bills are screwed. The Bills are screwed. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.